15th Budget and Finance Committee meeting. We've got a lot on consent tonight. We have two that we're pulling off consent. One is Resolution 1857. We have an abstention on that, so we need to pull that off consent. And for some reason on our calendar, 1529 was showing as being on consent. That's on second reading, 2022-1529. That will not be on consent. Looking at everybody, is there anybody that needs to pull anything off of the consent calendar? Councilmember Mendez.
The resolution 2022-1857, please.
I mentioned that, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My apologies.
Oh, sorry. Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 31, BL 2022-1533, Planning and Zoning took action on a deferral, so I think we should probably pull that one off. I know it says letter to approve, but Councilmember Rosenberg requested the deferral in Planning and Zoning.
So we're going to pull 1533, and there was a requested deferral by Councilmember Rosenberg. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember was.
Thank you, Councilmember Sledge. All right, I'm going to start reading, y'all, so y'all take a break. Resolution 2022-1578 approves the participation agreement between the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewerage Services and 1302 Pillow Street LLC to provide public water service improvements for Pillow Street proposed development, as well as other existing properties in the area. 2022-1854, Roten, Syracuse, Welsh, and others, appropriates $100,000 through a grant contract between the Metropolitan Office of Family Safety and Sexual Assault Center for the provision of medical legal exams and therapy to residents in Davidson County who are domestic violence victims. 2022-1855, Gamble, Johnston, Hauser, and others, appropriates $1.6 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund number 30216 to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency for a pilot program to provide wraparound services to residents. 2022-1856, Sepulveda, Gamble, Johnson, and others, appropriates $5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from the Fund 30216 to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency to provide gap funding for 150 affordable units at Casey Place through the Envision Casey Plan. 2022-1858, Hauser, Roten, Welsh, and others, authorizes grants not exceeding $4,950,000 from the Barnes Fund to affordable housing to certain nonprofit organizations for the express purpose of constructing and rehabilitating affordable or workforce housing. 2022-1859, Hauser, Roten, and Welsh approves the Fourth Amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2017965 between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. 2022-1860, Sepulveda, Gamble, Johnson, and others, appropriates $10 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Housing Division of the Metropolitan Planning Department to increase home ownership opportunities and housing security for populations with historical barriers and demonstrated inequities in home ownership. 2022-1861, appropriates $8 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Housing Division of the Metropolitan Planning Department to support housing for older adults by developing additional affordable housing inventory and creating opportunities for homeowners to age in place. (2022-1862), Sepulveda, Gamble, Johnston, and others, appropriate $7 million American Rescue Plan Act funds from the Fund 30216 to the Housing Division of the Metropolitan Planning Department to build 108 new units of affordable housing for families that are below 50% AMI. 2022-1863 appropriates $500,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds from the Fund 30216 to Our Place, Nashville for the provision of affordable housing for adults with developmental disabilities. 2022-1864 Roten authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise compromise and settle the property damage claims of Samuel Beasley against the Metropolitan government in the amount of $19,967.05, with said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. 2022-1865 Roten authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the property damage claim of Laura Franklin against the Metropolitan government for $19,011.29, with said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. 2022-1866 approves a contract between the Tennessee Department of Health and Metropolitan Board of Health to provide a mobile vaccination trailer to support remote vaccination events. That was Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh. 2022-1867, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves an agreement between the Metropolitan Board of Health and the University of Memphis Lowenberg College of Nursing to provide clinical experience opportunities for its students and residents. 2022-1868, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves a business associate agreement between the Metropolitan Board of Health and Siloam Health to provide safeguards to prevent the use of disclosure of protected health information. 2022-1869, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves a business associate agreement between the Metropolitan Board of Health and Matthew Walker Comprehensive Center to provide safeguards to prevent the use or disclosure of protected health information. 2022-1870, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves an agreement to detail for the Public Health Associate Program between the Metropolitan Board of Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to provide an associate to assist public health agencies in developing, implementing, and evaluating public health programs. 2022-1871, Roten and Syracuse approves Amendment 1 to a grant from the National Association of County and City Health Officials to the Metropolitan Board of Health to partner with agencies and implement activities that address the community challenges relating to drug overdose deaths. We're getting there. 2022-1872 approves Amendment 1 to an opioid overdose reduction program grant for the U.S. Office of Justice Programs to the Metropolitan Board of Health to address prescription drug and opioid misuse, save lives, and reduce crime through a comprehensive and collaborative approach. 2022-1873, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves Amendment 2 to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Board of Health to improve the health of the citizens of Davidson County through targeted strategies to prevent and control the use of tobacco. 2022-1874, Roten, Syracuse, Welsh, and Bradford approves Amendments 2 and 3 to a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metropolitan Board of Health to provide for the prevention, surveillance, diagnosis, and treatment of HIV/AIDS and to administer a minority AIDS initiative program. 2022-1875 approves an in-kind grant from the Friends of Warner Park to the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding for the next phase of improvements in Warner Parks. 2022-1876, Taylor, Roten, Hurt, and Allen approves a grant from the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metropolitan Board of Park and Recreation to fund the repurposing of the Croquet Clubhouse into a cafe to enhance the park's visitor experience. 2022-1878, Roten authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to settle the property damage claim of Lucinda Fields against the Metropolitan government in the amount of $11,500, with said amounts be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Excuse me. 2022-1530 amends the Metro Code to restrict obstructions within the public way or public right-of-way. Cash, Mendez, Bradford, Benedict. 2022-1532 extends the boundaries of the Urban Services District within the jurisdiction of the Metropolitan Government to include certain properties located in Council District 13 and approves the plan of services. 2022-1534, Evans, Roten, Swara, and Withers approves and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept a donation of property consisting of approximately 9.53 acres located at 1209 Tulip Grove Road, 1213 Tulip Grove Road, and 0 Tulip Grove Road for use as a proposed school site. And that's it. And that's it. That's everything on consent. You get a motion? Seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That's fine. Yes. Yes, there were none opposed. Except for those three. Yeah, I didn't read it, so, okay. All right, y'all, getting to the resolutions. RS 2022-1828, Withers, Roten, and Hurt requests that the Division of Purchases, with the assistance of the Department of Planning, issue a solicitation for development of portions of the Nissan Stadium campus. Get a motion? Seconded. Councilmember Withers, I see you out there. Would you like to take this up? You have nothing to say? Sorry, hold on one second.
Appreciate the discussion that we had at the East Bank Stadium Committee, in particular with planning and purchasing or procurement staff. I think we had a good discussion at that meeting, and encourage colleagues to move this forward today with the amendments. I'm in support of all three, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mendez, you have amendment number 1.
Thanks, Chair. 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, I mentioned that I'd had some discussion with the mayor's office about offering an amendment, and that's what this is. It basically says that the council agreeing to issuing the solicitation seeking a private partner to potentially develop the area around the stadium does not indicate a commitment by the council to approve any other pending or future legislation related to the East Bank or a potential new stadium. And the balance there is to acknowledge the urgency that the mayor's office has expressed to try to get a development partner to help them round out the things that are currently non-binding in the term sheet to get them to final documents by March is what we've been told by the administration, without undermining the council's position that it hasn't taken a position on the final documents yet. So this would let the RFP go forward, but just an express statement that this doesn't mean the council is for or against anything else. Thank you. I'll move the amendment.
Moved, properly seconded. I don't see any hands. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You approve. 14 in favor, 0 against. Proposed amendment number 2, Councilmember Allen. Oh, sorry, you would like to speak. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This just adds a reference to the Imagine East Bank Vision Plan that gives a little bit more specificity to what we mean by attainable housing and park space and other things that are called for in this in the description of the RFP. So it just gives more direction to the procurement department in terms of what the community has set are priorities for them. So I would ask for support.
So moved, properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? You approve. 14 in favor, 0 against. And then we have proposed amendment number 3, Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just proposed that there be a statement that's including that minority and women-owned business enterprises are to receive the fullest extent of inclusion in this project. And I just wanted it to be codified in the resolution and in the contract. And I ask for approval of this amendment.
Properly moved and seconded. Seeing no hands, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve. 14 in favor, 0 against. On the main resolution, we already have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve, 14 in favor, 0 against. Oh, yeah. This was on the consent calendar. We had to pull this for Councilmember Mendez. He needed to abstain on this, so let me read this, and then we can take a vote on this. Declares surplus and authorizes the conveyance of property to certain nonprofit organizations and authorizes grants not exceeding $15,045,144 from the Barnes Fund for affordable housing to certain nonprofit organizations selected for the express purpose of constructing and rehabilitating affordable or workforce housing. Can you get a motion? Motion properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? And Councilmember Mendez has the abstention. 13 in favor, 0 against. No, that was to pass it. Sure, go ahead. Hold on 1 second.
So,
Councilmember Johnston, you're
thank you, Chair. I'm sorry for being late. I thought we were, for some reason, I understood you to say we were pulling it to defer it, but now I understand we were pulling it because he had to abstain. So I'm just wondering why we are conveying this property over and not doing like a $0 ground lease and retaining the underlying asset. I thought we had a discussion, or maybe it was last term, where we were not going to be giving away land anymore, that it had to be sold for proper market value. And I understand the purpose, but we can also do ground leases that are $0 or very little dollars, but still retaining that asset so that when the affordability period ends, we still have taxpayers still have the asset, but we've achieved our goal in providing the affordable housing.
Someone from the administration want to explain this $15,000 piece of property?
15 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was 15,000.
Hello. Hi, thank you for your question. The parcels, there are 14 parcels that are being awarded in this grant round. They are delinquent back tax lots. What that means is that in order to secure a ground lease on the property and make that property insurable in order to build on it, they have to go through a court process to do that. We don't have the mechanism of a land bank set up to do that at this point in time, and those parcels can be put to work now with affordable units. We are looking forward to the unified housing strategy, and when that is completed, we will have a more comprehensive land policy, including what we do with our back tax lots, our shared equity pieces, our community land trust, if there are recommendations to have a land bank at that point. The reason that we don't have a policy around this right now is because that work isn't completed, but these parcels were requested by nonprofit organizations that can build on them now when we still need the units.
How long would it take for us to get this land bank policy? I feel like in 2022, for us to not have a land bank policy to be able to handle whatever mechanism needs to go into place so that we can retain the asset seems a little bit irresponsible.
Hi, Council Lady. As we're ending our first year as a new Metro Housing Division, that hasn't been anything that I understand that the city has contemplated. That is something we're looking at. There are different models, both in the state, that we are researching. But I also understand were previous conversations around the back tax properties while they move through Barnes separately than the way we dispose of other properties. I don't know if Hannah wants to speak to that history of that. So it just takes time to do that research as our new division gets in place on standing up a land bank and creating that, and also having funding in order to stand that up too, and doing the research on what all those things entail. We are looking at Memphis and Chattanooga are the two places in Tennessee, but we're also looking at other jurisdictions because every land bank operates a little bit differently. We want to make sure that we implement ours in the most responsible and impactful way.
Okay. I'm going to vote against this because I don't like, I mean, I'm not against affordable housing and I'm not against whatever, but it's amazing to me that we don't have a process to handle this so that we can retain the underlying asset, because in 30 years, that $15 million will be worth what? And we're literally just giving it away. And we have the ability, I mean, again, my question wasn't answered. How long would it take for us to get this in place so that we could achieve our goal and yet still hold on to the asset?
We would like, by budget season, to have a recommendation on what it would cost to fund and stand up a land bank.
I realize that. We have already voted on this. This was just a discussion for you to get some information, and now it's turned into a, if you want to vote against it, you can vote against it tomorrow night on the floor, or make sure it's noted that you vote against it. It was on consent, so we've already voted on it, so the committee's already taken action on this.
Can I vote to rescind that action so that we can continue this conversation now that we know what it is? Because I think some people have questions.
We have a motion to rescind the action of the committee. I don't see a second. We have a second. So we have a vote to move and a second to rescind the action. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The noes have it. Councilmember Allen, you had a question.
Thank you. If I might just ask a clarifying question. Are there any deed restrictions that go along with this can you talk a little bit about the deed restrictions?
Yes, the restrictions go on the property prior to actually quit claiming the property to the nonprofit organization. So that 30-year deed restriction is put on the property. Also, for a clarifying matter, the parcels that are being donated in this as part of this resolution are not worth $15 million. That's the actual monetary subsidy that these organizations are receiving across the board. The actual amount of that the property is worth currently, I'm happy to get back to you on. I have those numbers, just not in front of me.
And you said 30-year deed restriction.
30-year
So it's
deed
not in
restriction.
perpetuity.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to ask, how could MDHA be a part of this and utilize this effort, being that they are our housing agency?
We're happy to explore and work with Metro Legal on how and MDHA on how they can partner. The Barnes enabling legislation is for nonprofits, but I believe housing authorities are included in that, but we'll go back and look. But yeah, absolutely, we welcome any partnership where we can have any of this longer term affordability guaranteed.
All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. (2022-1529) Withers, Roten, and Hurt amends the Metro Code by increasing the hotel occupancy privilege tax in the amount of 1% and directing the proceeds to be used for the construction of and future capital improvements to a new enclosed stadium and debt service related thereto. Motion properly seconded. Councilmember Withers, I see you out there. Would you like to? There you go, Councilmember.
We do have an amendment. I believe the administration can describe that for us, but
Okay.
I'm in support of the amendment.
Okay. So we have a proposed amendment. Administration, we got the amendment properly moved, properly seconded. Anyone from the administration? Mike?
The amendment delays the effective date until the passage of the final binding documents.
Did everyone hear that? Okay. Any questions on the amendment? Councilmember Mendez.
Thanks. This is a comment on the amendment, but I do want to mention briefly that through some misunderstanding that I don't understand, the lobbyists for the team have been mischaracterizing my position on this bill out in the hallway. The talking point that multiple council members have repeated to me is that I'm for an indefinite deferral of this bill. Never said that ever in my life, and I just want everybody here clearly that I'm not interested in indefinite deferral of this legislation. The only person I've talked to about it is Mr. Jameson. He knows that that's not what I said. On this amendment, I drafted this amendment and put it in the package last meeting really to illustrate the point of what are we doing? Like, how are we implementing a tax before we get the final documents approved? It fundamentally puts the cart before the horse. And I thought the impact of the amendment would be to point out that, like, clearly we're not going to start charging a tax until final documents are prepared, filed in front of us, debated, and approved, which we've been told to expect will be March of next year. And so if we're not going to if we're not going to actually put the tax into effect, why on earth are we addressing it now? And so with the last couple of weeks, I came to believe that what we ought to do is just defer this legislation until February. And we've been told final approval will be sought in March. That means by February, all the ordinances for the final documents should be filed, and we can take up the hotel occupancy tax at the same time as the final documents. And I think that matches up with the idea of why on earth would we consider putting a tax into effect months before we see the final documents. So I would urge people to vote no on the amendment and just look to push the hotel occupancy tax legislation into the second meeting in February, by which time we should have all the boatload of ordinances for the actual final documents. I'll make the motion to defer after this amendment is dealt with one way or the other, Chair. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilmember Allen on the amendment.
Actually, was on the deferral motion.
He has not made the deferral motion yet. We were talking about the amendment. He said that he would make the deferral motion after we dealt with the amendment.
Then I would just simply say I appreciate the point being raised that we should, I think, create language that doesn't put this in effect before we finalize the bill. There is a boatload of legislation, and we are stepping our way through all of those many boatloads of things, and I don't understand the logic of waiting until the very last minute and then having the whole boatload land upon us. So I am not in favor of the deferral that would then follow upon this amendment not passing. I believe this amendment does a great job of putting us in the position of saying, if we as a council decide that we are not going to support this, then this whole thing dies and we've covered our bases. So I would ask for support for the amendment.
Councilmember Mendez on the amendment.
Thanks. Just briefly, honest to God, nobody has stated a reason why. I mean, there's a reason that we're being told behind closed doors why we should address this now, and nobody's said it out loud yet. But the only reason why this is before us now is out of some hypothetical fear about what the state of Tennessee is going to do to us, and that's the only reason why this has been presented now. That's the only reason that's being stated behind closed doors about why this should go forward. And my view is for the citizens of Davidson County, if we're going to be implementing legislation about new taxes, let's do it in the order that it should be in when we get the rest of the legislation, not out of fear about hypothetical things that the state might do or not do. So again, I'll ask people to not add the amendment, and then I'll make a motion one way or the other after the amendment gets dealt with.
Councilmember Hurt on the amendment.
Thank Thank you very much. So I agree with Councilmember Allen, and my decision is not because of any fear of what it is that the state is possibly going to do or not, but you know, when we had another legislation come before us in regards to hosting a convention here, I spoke about us finding common ground. And I think that this gives us an opportunity to exercise that opportunity to have common ground between the state and this local government. It's not too many times that we find us on the same page. And now that we are there, I think we need to take advantage of it and move forward and do what it is that we need to do in order to support us coming together and finding common ground and unification for us all in the best interest of us all.
Thank you, Council Member. Anyone else on the amendment? Councilmember Van Rees on the amendment.
Yes, I just wanted to voice my support of the amendment and for some of the same reasons that have been already mentioned, but also indicating that with the amendment gives us the assurance that I believe Mr. Mendez spoke so passionately on, which is to make sure that this doesn't happen at the wrong time, but at the right time. I do believe, however, it is important, and I will offer my own deferral for one meeting so that the Stadium Committee can review this at their meeting on 11/16 so that we can make sure and hear from the folks that are being taxed their opinion on it. And so I think that we can kind of split this apple by making sure that we pass the amendment and then defer for a single meeting and therefore getting just a couple more weeks of time as well. So with that, it's my support for the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anyone else? Seeing none. All in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? One no. 13 in favor, 1 against on the amendment. We are back on the bill. Any discussion on the bill? Councilmember Mendez.
I'd like to make a motion to defer to the second meeting in February with a brief explanation.
Moved, properly seconded. Councilmember Mendez.
First, for Councilmember Van Rees, I just want to clarify the ground rules for the East Bank Stadium Committee are that we're not taking any votes to recommend or not recommend any legislation. We're just an information gathering portal, basically. So we're not going to have a recommendation one way or the other on individual pieces of legislation like the hotel occupancy tax. But you should be able to get any information that's available that's been gathered about it through the committee's webpage. On the motion to defer, I would just be repeating, like, I'll incorporate everything I just said about the reason why I think this makes sense. There is not a good reason to do this now. Through this committee meeting, we are tending to undermine the administration's negotiating position on the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of thing. They're still negotiating by appearing to be a quick, eager implementing of the hotel occupancy tax. It's not going to go into effect until at least after March anyway, and there is no benefit to pushing this through now. So I would ask for a deferral to the second meeting in February.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. We have a motion for a deferral till February 21st, 2022. We'll just do hands on this. All in favor, raise your hand. I see 2 hands. 2 in favor. All opposed? 3, 4. I say 10. Two in favor, 11 against. Motion for deferral fails. Back on the bill. Councilmember Van Reese, you're recognized.
Yes, I just renew my motion to defer for one single meeting.
Motion properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral? All in favor? Any opposed? You defer one meeting. I'll go back and get that one. Sorry, y'all, I skipped one on the calendar. It was a late resolution that approves the grant contract between the Metropolitan Government and the Salvation Army to provide temporary gap housing. It's a late resolution, Hauser, Roten, Welsh, and others. Got a motion properly seconded. We have, I think there's documentation in your file on this Salvation Army temporary gap housing. Is there anything? It's been moved, properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Mendez.
If we could, I've got two questions. I'll ask them both. I don't know who the right person is to answer them. I'm interested in some explanation of why it's late filed. I know there's a lot of numbers. We're getting, lots of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff cramming through here, so it's easy to treat a $4.5 million contract as barely a speed bump, but we should at least know why it's late. And then secondly, I see in the contract that about half the money is going to be for security, and I'm interested to know who is providing that security.
Someone from the administration want to speak to this? We have someone at the back table. Hold on one second. You're recognized.
Thank you. I'm a respectable height. I'm Captain Philip Canning with the Salvation Army, and speak to the first question as to why this was late. Salvation Army operates in over 136 countries around the world, and we got the bureaucracy that goes with that. And so this contract had to be put together. Then it had to go through several levels of approval. It had to go through our divisional headquarters, which is located in Louisville, Kentucky, and then it also had to be approved by our territorial headquarters, which included legal, property, risk, and human resources. All had to look at that, scrub it, and get approval on it. And so that's normally quite a lengthy process, and we got it in on the right day. It was just late for that particular deadline in the hour. So that answers the question about why it was late. And then in terms of protective services, that is going to be provided by the organization that provides security at our facility on Dickerson Street, which is Crime Suppression Special Response Team.
Councilmember Mendez, any other questions?
Yeah, just on that. First of all, for the first answer, I appreciate the information. For the administration, I know we're a broken record and we always just approve it, but $4.5 million contracts, please, on time. And then for the second question, is that the name of a company?
Yes.
Can you repeat what that is?
Crime Suppression Special Response Team, CSSRT.
Are they based here in Nashville?
Yes.
And who do they use? Is it former police officers or retired police officers, private security?
It's a private security company that has former police officers.
All right, thanks.
Councilmember Sepulveda in the back. I saw you with your hand up. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. Just so my colleagues know, this is security for a piece of property that is in my district that we're currently doing, we're currently housing a lot of people in, right? And we have had some problems in the area, and it's very important that we do have some security at the location. Mainly, we need some protection for our residents. We're having a little bit of trouble with the surrounding area and people coming into the property from outside of the area, right? We just need a little bit of help. It was important to us that we didn't use MMPD, and so we did ask for a private security company to be contracted, and it is best practices that are used at the national level to not use local law enforcement, and so we wanted to abide by that. And we've had a meeting not too long ago, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, with the property owner, the Salvation Army, with April, and some other partners to try and come up with a holistic approach to that property and the area as a whole. So just wanted to give a little bit of background information.
Thank you, Councilmember Sepulveda. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve. 14 in favor, 0 against. I got you. Uh, 2022-1533 Rosenberg, Roten, Withers, and Pulley approves an easement on property located at 7304 Charlotte Pike, owned by Lowe's Home Centers. It is my understanding that Councilmember Rosenberg deferred this in a previous committee, so if we could get a motion properly seconded. I need a motion for deferral, if that's all right. Well, it's properly seconded. All in favor? Against? You defer. And the last item on the agenda authorizes, it's 2022-1535, Roten, Withers, Pulley authorizes Director of Public Property to transfer to the state of Tennessee any remaining fee interest in the Metropolitan government may have in a portion of the right-of-way of Broadway Avenue in front of Union Station. Can I get a motion? Properly seconded. We have an amendment. All we're doing is replacing a property description. There was the wrong property description. So can I get a motion? Properly seconded. All in favor? On the bill, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve. And we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.